Guys, welcome to the Vlad Catcher Show, the #1 show for founders, execs, and entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses. This video is presented to you by Voiso, and we have an amazing interview for you today with its CRO, Gregor Potocar, about how he is growing and scaling the business. Gregor, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, you've had an amazing career, right? You've worked at big companies, mid-sized companies, startups. And I'd like to kind of start this with what is Voiso and how does Voiso help businesses?
Yeah, Voiso it's a contact center in the cloud. Yeah, so everybody are familiar with the old term. It's like the call center. So like thousands of agents sitting somewhere, picking up the phones and contacting the customers. Now this is a different technology. It's part of the SaaS world, but it's intersection between SaaS, software as a service, and telco space. What we do is actually we connect companies with their customers in an omni-channel way. So this means that each business can communicate with their customers and customers with the business, with a phone, with the voice, we call it voice, with the omni-channel, with video or everything you want. So this means WhatsApp, Viber, whatever customer wants, we can bring in to the company and company's message to the customer in real time and in live matter.
And you as a CRO, what's really interesting to me, when is the right time to bring on a CRO? Because if we bring on a CRO too early, right, it's too early for this type of lead. And if we bring on a CRO too late, then we might miss out on a lot of sales that the CRO could have amplified. When is the right time to bring on a CRO like you? And what should we look for to make sure we hire a good one?
Yep. So CRO, if I'm really pragmatic, CRO would enter when the founder gets lost, in the complexity of growing the business. Usually the companies start with some VP sales, VP marketing, VP customer success. There's a bunch of VPs or a bunch of roles. There's still small teams, and founder, if they have some sales muscle, they usually manage themselves. But when complexity starts to grow, then it's time to bring in the CRO. There's no exact number of employees or the ARR connected with this. Is usually it happens with the transformation from a startup to scale up. So there is a proven product, there's a proven traction, investment can come, or the founders decided to move out. Let's say retract a bit from the daily operations. Then this is the moment when the CRO enters.
And just so I understand properly, is the core job of the CRO to increase the sales of the company, right? So you're kind of in charge of everything that brings in sales? Is that correct? Or how would you break this down?
The CRO role completely differs from company to company. So this is not my first CRO, let's say mission, or a position. The CRO would be, the role of the CRO would be defined when you enter the company, you need to see what's actually missing here. And the CRO, the sales is just one part of your business. The CRO would actually build everything around customer lifecycle. From the cookie on the website till the I can say lawsuit or a lost deal or whatever. Everything in between. So there's a bunch of fragments, bunch of orchestration of resources needs to happen. In CRO, CROs orchestrate this part. It's completely different to sales. The CRO is a leader of leaders position. And it's more balanced towards strategy, let's say, than compared like a sales. But it's a lot of abuse, of course, like everybody is called CRO, like everybody is a CEO of a 3-people company. What we want to avoid is that when you bring in a CRO it's not like a glorified VP sales. CRO, it's a different discipline.
What's interesting, you kind of walked me to my next question about the VP of sales.
Oh, sorry,
Which is good. What should we look for when hiring a great VP of sales? Because I'm sure in your kind of extensive career, you've dealt a lot with this case. So how do we hire a right VP of sales, and what should we look for in kind of a mid-sized B2B startup?
So VP sales is an expert role. And depends on the company and industry, but VP sales or seller at the end, but VP sales needs to be a good seller. This is really important, but it's a leadership function, which is extremely tactical. So they need to be able to sell, but they need to also lead the people through all this. They need to be a really good orchestrator of resources inside the company, because in reality, there is no seller that can do everything on their own. They're extremely dependent on internal support, a bunch of resources you use, and they need to juggle the customer side. So VP sales in the smaller companies depends on the stage, but sometimes the sales needs to be built up as a function. It doesn't exist. You can have a couple of guys that are selling something, okay, nice, but it's still not proper sales engine. And a VP sales needs to master the logic of direct sales and indirect sales engines to start with. Needs to master technology, needs to understand the products really well, and needs to be able to hire really good people. So this is another super important topic.
How do we test this, Gregor? Like, how can we test that the VP of sales could sell, or would you base it based on his past quotas? Like, what can we do to make sure that this VP of sales actually could be good in sales himself or herself?
You see, if you're looking for sales, let's say in established environments, like some corporations and stuff like this is extremely execution-based role. So you get the product, you get the sales manuals, you get the price list, everything is there. It's about execution and quarterly performance. But in the scale-up environment, we don't look for this. So it's good to have, but it's not the point here. So a good seller or VP sales in the scale-up environment needs to have, I call it like a building capacity. Because not everything is defined. Maybe if we define the job description by 50%, it's already a big success. And the rest of the 50, it's yours. And after 3 months or 6 months, we can see, okay, it was a complete miss, because this person didn't add the next 50%, or it's the best hire we ever did. So the challenge is that you need to find a person who can build or resolve the problems. And in the interviews, as you mentioned, they all come with the quota attainments, the president's club, I did this number, this many millions, Okay, all good. But I need you to explain the why part, or the how part. What was your role exactly in this big deal? Everybody would flash like $20 million deal. Okay, but what was your part exactly? And this needs to be deals that you remember after 5 years, not because of the number, but all the problems you solved, and you learned through that. And if you can explain this, then you're a good seller or a VP sales.
You're basically saying the details. He has to be able to break down the details of the deals.
Yeah.
My next question, Peter Thiel, he has this interview question he likes to ask candidates, which is like, tell me something that you believe is true that most people would disagree with you on, right? It's a great interview question. And I'd like to ask you, what's like an interview question that you like to ask candidates?
I don't have like a D or killer question. So I always come to this what I mentioned before. So I always ask about the top deal, they have, and what was their role in it. But they need to really explain how they overcome the problems, how they design the solution. I understand their part. It's not like I was a part of the team that did this. For me, it's always more of a story. But the second part I ask is the worst deal they had. And the candidates are not usually willing to share this. And I have a lot of candidates that said, I never had a bad situation or a bad deal. And for me, it's like, okay, so you're going to have the first one with me. So that's, I'm avoiding this. No, but if you're able to describe what went wrong, this for me, it's like if you have this level of self-awareness, for me, this is a big advantage. And also when you're hiring sales or these customer-facing positions, I always hire also for the next position. So you will bring somebody in. They will last 2-3 years. These are really hard positions. in this, but you need to understand, can you build on them and what they can do next? Because you will also invest a lot into them during this time. And for me, it's important that they're able to explain what is their career trajectory. Yeah. And they want my job, of course, this is a big advantage. So, I mean, they will invest a lot in themselves, in the numbers, that they will reach something higher. Yeah? So it's for me, it's like, probing question from these angles, but I don't have this killer question, like Peter Thiel's.
But that's interesting. You're looking to hire basically team members who can grow into the next role. You're specifically looking for that, right? You're not looking to fill this role. You're looking for a guy who'll fill the role and can grow.
Yes.
That's even harder, right?
Next.
It's even more difficult.
Yes. Yeah, but this will happen. So, you see, this goes for all the positions, not like revenue only, but you will never keep a top performer. Yeah. So you need to be interesting long enough, and this interesting part comes also with growth, with promotion, with seeing different angles of the company. So you need to, when your top performer enters the company on day one, you need to start thinking what you will offer them in 2 years, or keep them interested that they stay with you a longer time.
Kind of a side question I have for you on this. When you have a great rep, when you have a great sales rep, is it usually better to try to drive that rep to become like a sales manager and lead a team? Or is it better to keep that great rep just being a great rep and maybe giving him bigger deals? Like, how do we approach this case? Because sometimes he's a great rep, but a bad manager, right? So that you lose as a business. What's your advice on this type of case?
That's an eternal dilemma, yeah? So it goes back to what I said. So if the great rep, decided that he's such an expert in sales, that he will never be a sales manager, because sales manager or leader is called completely different craft, yeah? People leadership is different, like selling. And if you're a sales manager, then you're in people leadership. And many good sellers failed in these positions because they didn't understand that this is a leadership position, or next level is a leader of leaders. It's even more complex. Yeah. So what you need to achieve is that these people rotate or change teams, because you can get bored, or you're in some cycle, or you already seen everything, and this excitement drops. Yeah? There are examples of that you can do this for a long time, but this is not the rule. Yeah, it's always a small amount. What is also problematic is sales or whatever roles, they usually work in teams. So you need to always see, does this person fit in the team or not? Because you can have a stellar seller, but he's toxic to everybody around him. Yeah. So the cost of having him is higher than the benefit he brings in. So it's an endless cycle of assessments. Yeah. But this question needs to be asked. This is for important. You should not ignore the next step questions. Yeah. What's in it for you? Are you happy in this role, or do you see yourself in 2 years in this role? Needs to be openly asked and frequently asked. It's not a taboo thing. Yeah? And also for leaders, say, who's your successor? What's the next one? So people are afraid to name their successors because they think, okay, then they know they can replace me with this guy. Yeah. But if you don't have a successor, I will not promote you to the next position because I don't have a replacement for you. You know? So we need to be a bit more open and smart around this stuff. Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure our viewers even, that's cool to ask who is your replacement, right? To the leaders we do have, so that way they should be able to tell us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. And Gregor, you worked at so many different companies, right? Huge companies in very senior leadership positions. And in your experience, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see startups making after they cross 1 million ARR?
So this 1 million ARR, it's a dangerous playground. Let me put it like this. There's an old book, Crossing the Chasm. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's still so valid. So, and it happens all the time. It's not 1 million ARR, but this 1 million ARR, it's like really common there. So you reach 1 million ARR, and then the founders or the leadership team or the company say, we got this. We figured it out. this is what we will do to 50 million. It's never like this. Yeah. So 1 million ARR is a moment of humbleness, not pride, and a lot of self-awareness and understanding, is this really true or not? Because in every business, whatever you do, you have these early adopters, some fans. It just happens. Yeah, some buyers that will actually believe in you and they will buy this. Okay, super. But this doesn't mean you have next 100 customers. No, you have first 5. Yeah, they paid you a lot. But then when you reach this 1 million, you need to exactly understand what needs to happen next. And sometimes it comes with the changing the people, because people who can go from the bootstrapped startup, they cannot maybe perform in the 1 to 20 million benchmark, because you need to build a lot of processes, you need to build a lot of operations. This is the second pitfall. Companies understand the efficiency part. You have 1 million ARR, you got the investment, and what is the first expense? We need newer, bigger offices, benefit packs for everybody. We eat lunch together, gym memberships. We are one big family. And this is really dangerous, period. So it's probably much harder to go from 1 to 10 than 0 to 1 in reality, because from 0 to 1, it's focused on the product and the first customers, and you have nothing. The customer said, okay, I want to pay. Nobody knows how to build an invoice, and you open a Word and somebody makes an invoice, because you don't have an ERP system or financial system. But then you need to implement also this. And it's a threat that you start dealing with yourself too much, because you need to fix this operationally. And you want to raise more and more rounds. You need to look professional. If some investor comes to a company, do a bit of a due diligence and see it's a pure chaos, forget about this. So you need to build a firm foundation. From 1 to 10, you need to prepare for a proper scale-up environment. And the earlier you start, the better.
And there's always so many metrics. There's just always so many numbers to watch. There's unlimited metrics that we have in startups. What are some metrics that you as a CRO of Voiso, watch really careful, and which metrics do you feel are kind of overrated?
You see, you would see in every job description of any C-level position now, it's like a data-driven professional. It's just like everything is data-driven. But in reality, you need to observe 2 types of indicators, 2 types of KPIs. One is the leading indicators, and the second one are the lagging indicators. So the lagging are the last month's result, the last quarter results. Okay, it's understanding the past. And people focus too much on this. What was our MRR, ARR, RPU, and all these classic SaaS metrics, plus companies have some of their own. Number of new acquisitions, number of leads, conversions in the marketing and funnel and stuff like this. What is really important in reality is that you focus on the leading indicators. This means the future. I joined a couple of startups. Okay, this is my third, but let's say the last 2 companies I joined, there was no forecasting in place. And one was almost $1 billion ARR operation. There is no forecasting. So this is super important. If you get your leading indicators right, then the lagging will be also okay, because this is already the past. You cannot fix anything. But as much, if you can see really far in the future, you can remove all the obstacles and the problems that are going your way. So the metrics in reality you should focus is your pipeline. It's a cliche, but pipeline 3 quarters ahead, if you can understand it. But it's not just from the quantity perspective. Okay, you have 5x coverage. This means your plan is $1 million, I have 5 million of pipeline. You need to understand the structure of the pipeline. So your go-to-market strategies, I don't know, you sell to hospitals, like a hospital solution, but your pipeline is full of utilities companies. So something is wrong there. So your marketing is building hospital-specific website. Your product is building healthcare-specific solutions, but your sellers are selling utilities. So either the GTM is completely wrong, yeah, or you settle for a quick wins, yeah, can be easier to sell there, but it's like a short-term win, but in mid to long term, you're killing the company because it's not the trajectory of the company. This means sales go in one direction, the whole company goes in the other direction. Sooner or later, we'll crash into something. So the indicators each CRO or every leader should monitor, its leading indicators to see far in the future and adapt, yeah, all the functions in the company to secure these deals to be closed, to serve these customers in the right way, to bring in the people at the right time. It's about forecasting. It's like looking far in the future and then communicating this, let's say, to CFO, because CRO and CFO, it's like a marriage. You say, yeah, I'm guaranteeing I'm bringing this in the next 3 months, or 3 quarters or a year. Now tell me how much I can spend.
This is awesome, Gregor. Just to make sure I understood correctly, you're saying that, be able to estimate your future sales, ideally up to 3 quarters, right? That's 75% of the year in advance, and then have the pipeline that supports those estimates and then execute everything else that's needed to ensure that happens, right?
Yeah. So it a bit depends on the sales length of the sales cycle you have. Normally, it's even 4 quarters. Yeah, if you have a bit more longer sales cycle, because really big deals, they would happen. It's a long sales cycle. Yeah, can take a year or more, depends on the solutions you sell. But you need to look this far in the future, and it's possible because you need to. It's hard to solve a quarter when you're in a quarter. And what's important, I'm not talking about a year. I'm talking rolling quarters. So now in July, you would start discussing Q1 next year. You know what I mean? So January next year, do we have deals for January next year? That's the debate you should have. It should be always rolling. You should move sales from the fiscal calendar, and they should work in the rolling quarters. Then this gives you the speed and flexibility inside the company.
What can we do to be better leaders, Gregor, right? Because leadership is so important from every position, right? From the CRO to the CMO to the CEO. What can we do to be better leaders? And what advice would you share with every executive on what they can do to be better leaders for their companies?
People, when we move into leadership position, or when you move into first leadership position, you need to identify it correctly. It means if you were sales before, we were talking about sales rep today, yeah? Or marketing executive or whatever, when move to leadership position, somebody need to help you understand this is a people leadership position. It's a different job, and it's not your area expertise is important, but you're not going to win through this. You're going to win through your leadership skills. And then these investments start. Yeah, you need to educate yourself. But the best you will learn from good leaders. Yeah? So when you start educating yourself about leadership, then you will start to understand your ex-leaders. Yeah, you just hated them or admired them before, but you never understood them. There was some emotional filtering. But then you start analyzing them, and what is really important, you start observing yourself. Yeah? You're in constant spotlight. Yeah, as a leader, especially if you come to a new company, like I did a couple of times in my career, you join on a C-level position. This means you have zero fans. All eyes on you, and everybody expect the mistakes you will make. You're scrutinized. Your every word is weighted. Yeah. And your supporter is probably just the CEO or maybe some other guy in the leadership team, but you're the new guy, yeah, and you're in extreme pressure. So you need to understand yourself a lot, yeah, and that you're able to keep the cool mind, the trajectory, and you execute changes you want to have, and you develop like a system, yeah, of how you enter the company, how you lead your teams, how you design your teams. And for me, I have a simple formula in reality. So because you need to remind yourself what is your core job here and there. Because you go into some deals, some projects, stuff like this, but then next Monday comes and what is my core job in reality? Yeah? And core job of every leader would be like, I see like three groups, three pillars. First, you need to build your leadership team, but it needs to be your leadership team. Yeah. So you need to have an agreement with the owners of the leadership of the company or founders or whoever who has some say in this, that you should be able to build your team, the team you trust in. Yeah? Then the next stage is you need to agree with this team what needs to happen. So what's the strategy? What are the tactics? And this is maybe a third or maybe half of your time, depends on when you enter the company. And then what you do day in, day out is remove obstacles for them. Yeah? This is the job. Your job in reality is removing the obstacles. After everything is agreed, you just solving problems, cleaning stuff. Yeah? And it can be really depressive job because when you work in the global companies, you spend a lot of time in the plane. And guess where you're flying to? You're flying where the problem is.
Yeah.
Not to the subsidiary that is super successful and everything is green.
Yeah.
Nobody visits them. Leave them alone. They're good. You go where the problem is.
Yeah.
And then when you solve the problem or close the deal, they're celebrating, but you're already on the plane to the next one. Yeah. So you're in constant gray cloud of problems. And you need to know how to motivate yourself through these constantly. I mean, it's a lot of a self-awareness job in these roles.
That's interesting. You know, like some people always say they put their best people on the biggest problem areas, right? That kind of goes to your point. It's like the best people are always in the most problematic areas of the business.
Yeah. I mean, either you close this area or, in this, I disagree with this respectfully. Yeah. So you see, this is one of the contrary. So you would put your dollar where you can get the most ROI. So I would put the best person where they can bring the most. And if something problematic, you probably need a different profile or you need a problem solver or something like this. But you would not burn your best talent on the area that is maybe will never succeed. So first you need to go there yourself and decide what you will do. But this is the hands-on part. You need to make the decision. Yeah, you don't want to send your best VP to the biggest mess, and then also lose this VP because he said this. They're all crazy, including my boss. He sent me there. I'm leaving the company. So this is why I need to go yourself. Yeah.
Well, Gregor, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm gonna leave the link to Voiso below, so this way everyone can check out your product and sign up. Well, thank you so much for coming and for sharing all these lessons.
Thank you.